I want you to try a little experiment with me right now. Just close your eyes for a second. Imagine you're sitting in a room, but it's not just a normal room. It's a space that is actively, constantly scanning your body.
Right.
It knows if you're stressed out. It knows if your heart rate is spiking because of, I don't know, that email you just read. And it decides entirely on its own to fix that.
It sounds a bit like a sci-fi medical bay, doesn't it?
It really does. It uses sound.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually feel surfaces that cool your fingertips down and vibrations that are designed to physically alter your state of being. Now, open your eyes. You aren't in a high-end spa. You aren't in a therapy session. You are doing 70 miles an hour down the highway in an SUV.
That imagery really captures the essence of what we're looking at today. It's a complete pivot in philosophy.
Exactly. So today on the Deep Dive, we are tackling the 2026 Range Rover SV Black Edition. And look, we've got a massive stack of sources here today.
We really do.
We've got the technical specs on the suspension systems. We have interior design manifestos and reviews of audio technology that frankly look like they belong in a recording studio, not a car.
But our mission here today isn't just to review a vehicle.
No, because if we were just reviewing a car, we'd be talking about, trunk space and miles per gallon.
Right.
And frankly, for this specific vehicle, those metrics are the absolute least interesting things about it.
Boring. We want the good stuff.
Precisely. We are here to unpack a very specific shift in the luxury market. Based on these sources, we are moving away from the old status game of how does this car look to my neighbors?
Yeah, the visual flex.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're moving toward how does this car make my body feel physically? It's a fundamental shift from status to sensation.
And some of the features we're going to talk about are honestly wild. I mean, I was reading the notes on the floor mats.
The floor mats, yeah.
Yes, the things that you literally put your money shoes on. And I had to double check that I wasn't reading a patent for a VR suit. It's sensory engineering is what it is. It's mechanical alchemy. And it really does start from the ground up.
So let's unpack this. I want to start with that sensory experience because the what they call the sensory floor is the huge headline feature in a lot of the trade press right now.
It is the world first claim that they are making in the documentation.
Okay, so break that down for me because to me, a floor is just the ground. It's where I drop my phone. What makes it sensory?
So in the SV Black Edition, Land Rover has integrated haptic feedback directly into the floor mats themselves.
Okay.
But don't think of this like your phone buzzing in your pocket. That's a very crude, single frequency type of vibration.
Right, that's just a notification to get your attention. This is something else.
Completely different. This is vibrotactile technology. It is linked directly to the vehicle's audio system.
Which is the Meridian signature sound system, right? The massive 29 speaker setup.
Correct. So think about being at a live concert. You're standing right near the stage. You don't just hear the bass guitar with your ears.
You feel the air moving.
Exactly. You feel the floor resonating under your feet. The sound literally travels through your skeleton.
Oh, yeah. You feel it right in your chest. You feel it in your shins. It's a full body experience.
That is exactly what they are replicating here. The haptic floor syncs perfectly with the low-end frequencies of whatever music you're playing. So when you're listening to a track, the bass isn't just moving the air in the cabin, it's traveling through the floor mechanism and directly up through your feet.
So it creates this illusion that you're physically inside the music rather than just, listening to it coming out of a plastic door panel.
Yes. It creates a fully immersive physical environment. It bridges that gap between auditory processing,
What your ears hear.
right, and tactile sensation, what your body feels. It anchors you in the moment.
That is just, that's incredibly cool. It essentially turns the entire car into a subwoofer you can ride inside of.
Yeah.
But it doesn't just stop at the feet, right? The sources say the seats are involved too.
Correct. And this is where we get into the BAS technology.
BASS, body and soul seats. Which I have to say is a very dramatic name for a car seat. It sounds like a piece of tech from a Marvel movie.
It does sound theatrical, but the tech genuinely backs it up. It's standard on the SV models. These seats have AI-optimized transducers embedded right into the backrest and the shoulder areas.
Okay, hold on a second. Transducers.
Yeah.
For the listener who might just be picturing a vibrating massage chair, what is the actual difference between a transducer and a regular motor?
That's a great question. So a standard vibration motor, like you'd find in an old school massage chair or a video game controller, it basically just spins an asymmetrical weight.
Okay.
It's mechanical, it's rumbly, and it is very imprecise. It takes time to spin up and spin down.
Got it.
A transducer, on the other hand, is like a speaker driver. But instead of moving a paper cone to push air and make sound, it moves a solid mass to make vibration. And because of that, it is incredibly precise.
So it can start and stop instantly.
Down to the millisecond. It aligns the physical sensation exactly with the audio frequencies. So if there is a very sharp, sudden drum kick in the song...
You feel a sharp hit in your shoulder.
Yes, exactly, a percussive hit. But if it's a long, low, sustained cello note, you feel a smooth sustain in your lower back.
Okay, so I'm driving along, I've got my favorite playlist on, and the car is basically massaging the music right into my body. It sounds like a lot of fun. But here is where it gets really interesting to me. The source material mentions that this isn't just about blasting rock and roll on the highway. There's a whole wellness aspect to this.
Yes, and that is the critical so what of this entire system. If they just use this for loud music, it would be a gimmick.
Right.
It would be fun for about 5 minutes to show your friends, and then it would just be annoying.
Yeah.
But the SV Black uses this technology for actual physiological regulation. They have developed 6 specific wellness programs built into the software.
Like what? What are the options if I open that menu?
You have modes with names like calm, soothe, and invigorate.
Okay, let's play this out. Let's say you, the listener, are stuck in traffic. It's raining, you're late for a meeting, your heart rate is up.
You go to the screen and you select calm. The system immediately strips away the chaotic noise of the outside world, and it starts utilizing specific vibration patterns and sound frequencies.
What kind of frequencies?
They're essentially using binaural beats, frequencies that are scientifically proven, according to the research in our sources, to lower heart rate and reduce heart rate variability.
So the car is actively trying to calm me down. It's not just a passive box I'm sitting in, it's actively treating my stress levels.
Precisely. It is using the tactile environment to manipulate, benevolently we assume, the driver's nervous system.
Wow.
It's addressing the sheer fatigue of long drives, not by just making the leather softer, but by stimulating the nervous system in a very specific way that keeps you either alert or relaxed, depending on what your body actually needs.
I love that phrase you use, benevolent manipulation. It's slightly dystopian, but also very, very convenient. So we have the sound you can feel. Let's move to the stuff you can touch. Because the interior of this thing, the sources make a massive deal about the materials. This is clearly not your grandfather's luxury car.
Definitely not. And this brings us to the concept of material exclusivity. For decades, the recipe for a high-end luxury car interior was very simple. You used leather and you used wood.
Right. High-gloss wood that usually ends up looking like plastic anyway, and shiny chrome metal that blinds you when the sun hits it just right.
Exactly. The 2026 SV Black Edition throws that old playbook completely out. They have moved heavily into ceramics.
Ceramics. Now, see, when I hear ceramics, my brain immediately thinks of a coffee mug, or maybe a bathroom tile. I don't think $500,000 ultra-luxury car.
You have to reframe that entirely. Think high-tech industrial ceramics.
Oh.
The kind of specialized material you would find in the case of a $50,000 luxury watch, or in the heat shielding of a spacecraft. This is zirconia ceramic, and it's sintered at thousands of degrees.
Okay, that is a much better image than a coffee cup.
So where are they actually putting this spacecraft material inside the cabin?
It is in all the primary touch points, the things your hands actually interact with constantly while driving, the gear shifter, the volume dials, even the exterior badges, the SV roundel on the outside are now made of black ceramic with this incredible jewelry-like finish.
But what's the point of that? Is it just for looks? Because, I mean, plastic can look black and shiny too if you polish it.
It is largely about the tactile experience. It's about what designers call tactile weight. What's fascinating here, reading through the design manifestos, is the focus on thermal conductivity.
Meaning how it handles heat.
Right. Think about plastic. Plastic warms up to your body temperature almost instantly when you touch it. Metal gets really hot in the sun or freezing cold in the winter, but it always feels sort of thin.
Yeah, that makes sense. Ceramic has a very specific thermal density. It stays remarkably cool to the touch.
Oh, I know exactly that feeling. Like when you pick up a really expensive, heavy stone paperweight off a desk, it's that heavy, cold feeling that just subconsciously screams expensive.
Exactly that. When you reach down for the volume dial, your brain registers the coolness and the solidity of that ceramic, and it subconsciously signals high engineering durability. It feels permanent. It actively resists your body heat.
It's so interesting how they're using literal temperature as a luxury signal to your brain.
Right.
And what about the wood? Because I did see notes in the interior specs about black birch.
Yes. So this covers the sustainability angle that they are pushing, but it's also a major aesthetic shift. They have ditched the traditional high-gloss lacquer finish entirely.
Thank goodness for that. I hate that shiny wood look. It just creates glare on the windshield.
They are using an open-pore satin finish black birch veneer, so when you run your hand over the dashboard, you can actually feel the natural grain of the wood under your fingertips.
That's nice.
And visually, it absorbs light rather than reflecting it. It creates a very specific mood in the cabin. It's darker, it's quieter, it feels much more organic.
It seems like the overarching theme here is stealth. Everything is matte, everything is satin, everything absorbs light instead of shouting for attention.
Which brings us really nicely to the mechanics of the vehicle. Because if the interior is all about absorbing light and sound to keep you calm, the suspension system is entirely about absorbing the laws of physics.
Yes. Let's talk about the mechanical alchemy. That is such a great term from the engineering notes. We really need to talk about the suspension on this thing, specifically on the Sport SV Black model.
This is genuinely an engineering marvel. They call the system 6D dynamics.
6D, because just when 3D wasn't enough, we apparently needed 3 more dimensions.
It refers to the 6 degrees of freedom that the car can actively control. But honestly, the headline here isn't what they added, it's what they removed. They have completely killed the anti-roll bar.
Okay, for the listener who isn't a mechanic, let's unpack that. What exactly is an anti-roll bar, and why had it been a standard part on almost every car for the last 50 years?
Traditionally, if you want to keep a really tall, heavy SUV from tipping over when it goes around a sharp corner, you use a thick, solid metal bar that physically connects the left suspension to the right suspension. It acts as a physical brace.
Okay, so it just keeps the car flat when you turn.
It does, but there is a massive problem with that. Because that solid metal bar connects the wheels permanently, if your left wheel hits a deep pothole, the shock wave travels right through that metal bar and the right wheel feels it too.
Oh, okay.
It makes the ride very harsh. It's an age-old engineering compromise. You can either have flat cornering, but you have to suffer a rough, bumpy ride, or you can have a soft, comfortable ride, but the car leans over like a sailboat when you take a corner.
So how does the SV Black actually solve this? How do you keep a 6,000-pound truck from rolling over without using that metal brace?
They replaced those physical metal bars with a highly complex, hydraulically interlinked system. It's a closed fluid circuit that connects all 4 dampers, so front to back, and left to right.
So they're using liquid instead of solid steel.
Correct. And this hydraulic circuit manages 2 crucial things simultaneously: pitch and roll.
Pitch being what exactly?
Pitch is the nose diving down toward the pavement when you slam on the brakes, or the nose rearing up when you accelerate really hard.
Right. And roll is the leaning side to side in the corners.
Exactly. This system is so fast, it can pump high-pressure hydraulic fluid instantly to whichever side of the car needs support. So you can take a corner at literal sports car speeds, and this massive, heavy SUV stays almost perfectly flat. It just pumps up the outside suspension to hold all that weight.
That's crazy. But then what happens when you're just cruising down a straight highway?
That is where the magic happens. When you're driving in a straight line, the hydraulic valves simply open up. The wheels become completely independent of each other. There is no solid metal bar transferring the bumps from one side to the other.
So you get that soft, magic carpet ride over the potholes because the wheels aren't talking to each other, but you get the sports car stiffness in the corners because the hydraulics instantly wake up.
Yes. It creates a vehicle that behaves in ways that just shouldn't be physically possible for something of its size and mass. It is effectively rewriting its own suspension geometry in real time, hundreds of times every single second.
That is just incredible. It's like the car is constantly fighting a war with physics, and the car is winning.
It really is.
Yeah.
And honestly, that incredibly stable platform is the only thing that allows them to put such a monstrous engine in this vehicle without it feeling completely dangerous to drive.
Let's talk about that engine. The heart of the beast. We've got a twin-turbo V8 under the hood here.
We do. And you know, in 2026, a V8 is rapidly becoming a rare species. This specific engine is actually sourced from BMW's M division.
Which is a massive pedigree in itself.
Absolutely. But it has been heavily modified and tuned specifically by the Land Rover SV team. We are looking at an output of somewhere between 607 and 626 horsepower, depending on the exact spec.
That is a staggering amount of power. I mean, that is legitimate supercar territory from just a few years ago in a luxury SUV.
It is. But you have to remember that stealth theme we talked about earlier. This engine is not designed to scream. If you buy, say, a Lamborghini Urus, you want it to pop and bang from the exhaust. You want to scare pedestrians.
Right, they have that very high-pitched, aggressive wail. It's extremely attention-seeking.
The SV Black takes the opposite approach. It is tuned for a very deep, sophisticated growl. The engineers actually call it a quiet beast. It's all about providing effortless torque. You put your foot down on the highway and the world just silently moves backward. It doesn't make a huge fuss about what it's doing.
It's the difference between confidence and arrogance. Arrogance screams for attention, but confidence just has undeniable presence.
That is a very good way to put it. It simply doesn't need to shout about how fast it is. It just inherently is.
But let's say I'm a billionaire, and this standard quiet beast just isn't quite exclusive enough for me. The source material mentions some serious one-of-one capabilities. This is where the whole thing gets a little excessive, right?
This is the SV Bespoke commissioning service. This is specifically for the client, where money is truly no object, and they want something that absolutely nobody else on Earth has.
I saw a note about 18-karat gold script in the options list. Please tell me that is exactly what I think it is.
It is exactly that. You can opt to have the Range Rover lettering on the hood and the tailgate hand-forged from recycled 18-karat solid gold.
Wait, hand-forged? Like by a machine?
No, by an actual British jewelry house.
Uh-huh.
A person makes it. It even comes with an official certification of authenticity. It is quite literally wearing jewelry for your car.
That is certainly a choice. A massive flex, definitely. But honestly, the paint process seemed way more interesting to me from a purely technical standpoint. They call it a glass-like finish. What does that actually mean?
This is all about creating visual depth. For the obsidian black exterior color, they don't just spray it on a line and ship it out like a standard Ford or a Toyota. They start by using a significantly thicker top coat of clear lacquer. And then, and this is the really labor-intensive part, they have a custom flatting and polishing process.
Explain flatting for me.
So on almost any new car you buy, even expensive ones, if you look really closely at the paint under a bright street lamp, you'll see a slight texture to it. It looks a bit like the skin of an orange. It's just these microscopic ripples in the clear coat.
Right, car detailers call that orange peel.
Exactly. To get rid of that texture, you have to physically sand the clear coat down.
You take sandpaper to the paint of a brand new six-figure car.
Yes. And it is incredibly risky if the technician doesn't know exactly what they're doing. They sand it by hand until it is perfectly microscopically flat, removing all of that orange peel texture. Then they spend hours polishing it back up to a shine. This creates a reflection that is completely distortion-free. The car ends up looking like a deep pool of black ink or wet liquid glass.
So if I look at my own reflection in the door panel, I'm not going to look like some wavy, funhouse mirror version of myself.
You will look perfect, or at least as perfect as you look in real life.
Ouch. Fair enough. But it really just shows the sheer level of obsession here. The goal isn't just paint it black. The goal is make it the blackest, smoothest object on planet Earth.
And if black somehow isn't your thing, there is also the match to sample option.
Yes, this has to be the ultimate customization flex.
You can walk into the Bespoke dealership with virtually any physical object. A dial from your favorite vintage watch, a piece of silk fabric, a fragment of ancient pottery.
A jelly bean. Could I bring a jelly bean?
If a jelly bean is your artistic muse, yes, bring the jelly bean. And their specialized paint lab will chemically analyze the pigment of that object and create a one-of-one custom paint code to match it absolutely perfectly for your vehicle.
That is the ultimate definition of having it your way.
It reinforces this core idea in the luxury space that the car is no longer just a product. It's an extension of the owner's personal identity. It is a mirror of who they are.
So let's zoom out a bit here. We've unpacked the sensory floor that literally kicks your shoes with bass frequencies.
Yeah.
We've talked about the cooling spacecraft ceramics that feel like expensive watches, the physics-defying 6D suspension, and the gold lettering. What does this all actually mean for the industry?
Well, if we synthesize all the sources we've looked at today, the Range Rover SV Black is a fascinating combination of extreme brute force and incredibly delicate science. You have the sheer brute force of that twin-turbo BMW V8, and the massive physical size of the vehicle itself. It's practically a tank.
Right.
But then layered completely over that, you have the delicate material science of the thermal ceramics and the physiological science of the haptic wellness programs.
It really feels like a turning point in automotive history. We used to judge all these cars purely by the numbers, 0 to 60 times, total horsepower, top speed on a track.
And to be fair, those numbers are still very impressive on this vehicle, but they aren't the headline anymore. The true headline is the driver's internal biological state.
Right. It's like the car is designed from the ground up to be an antidote to the modern world. The outside world is loud, it's chaotic, it's incredibly stressful, so the car becomes dark, quiet, impossibly smooth, and it is actively trying to lower your heart rate.
Exactly. It is a rolling sanctuary. But a sanctuary that happens to be able to move at 150 miles per hour if you want it to.
Which, if you ask me, is the very best kind of sanctuary.
But you know, analyzing all this raises a really interesting question about where the future of luxury is actually heading.
What's that?
Well, historically, we've always seen cars simply as transportation, a machine for getting from point A to point B. But this vehicle is crossing a very distinct line. It is monitoring your stress levels, it vibrates to physically calm your nervous system, it controls your auditory environment to actively regulate your mood.
Yeah, that's true.
So here's the provocative thought I want to leave you, the listener, with today. If a car can now monitor your biometrics and actively intervene to change your physiological state, at what point does a luxury vehicle stop being classified as just transport and start being classified as a medical device?
That is a little terrifying to think about, actually, but also undeniably fascinating.
It's the ultimate evolution of a safety feature. It's the car that keeps you alive, not just by deploying airbags to avoid a crash, but by literally preventing you from having a stress-induced heart attack on your commute.
Well, on that slightly dystopian but very, very comfortable note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Whether you're currently driving a multi-million-dollar sensory deprivation tank or just a regular everyday sedan, thanks for taking the time to ride along with us today.
Drive safe, everyone.
Catch you next time.